Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining me for this launch of my latest book on her silver rays, a guide to the moon, myth and magic. My name is Frances Billinghurst, and I'm coming to you from Ghana country. If you are not familiar with me, just a very brief introduction. I have been interested in metaphysics, mythology, sacred stories, ancient cultures, and esoteric or occult sciences basically for most of my life, and also actively follow a more earth-centric spiritual path, basically since my late teens, early 20s. So this has led me to become formally initiated in a couple of, should we say, modern mystery schools, and has also led on to an interest in parapsychology, ancient wisdom teachings, etc. So that's a little bit of the background that I'm coming from. But enough about me. On with the book on the silver rays, which will be formally or officially released through Moon Books later this month. And just an aside, if you love the moon but missed my previous presentation, The Moon as a Portal to the Mysteries, that I did last month, then that video is available on my YouTube channel, and it is something that I hope you will take the time and have a look at. But let me share the screen just a little bit. I'll just move myself up here. About my forthcoming book on the silver rays. The publisher is Moon Books, which is an imprint of John Hunt Publishing, so it's an English publisher. You are still able to pre-order through Amazon Hive, which is in the UK, Barnes and Noble, and you will also be able to ask your local bookstore to get it in. Instead of officially, it will be released on the 30th of June. If you live in Australia, check out Avalon by Nature, especially if you are Northern New South Wales, and Joe there has copies here in Adelaide. There's See This Carpe Diem, also Mystical Crystal Forest down at Christie's Beach, and Sage Guidance, who also appears at the markets. If you're in Canberra, also the Crystal Chalice there, and Muses of Mysteries in Melbourne and Dalesford also have copies. So you should be able to get your copy there. So what I would like to do is to start off with an invocation of sorts based on the hymn of Furious, translation by Thomas Taylor, entitled To the Moon. So this is one of the things many years ago. I used to do full moon gatherings in a local park here in Adelaide, and we would gather together just before the actual date of the full moon or the timing of the full moon, and do various invocations and visualize the moon and the lunar rays coming down into us. So I'm just going to remove myself from the screen, and you might just want to visualize the silvery orb of the moon above you, or gaze at this image, taking a deep breath. Mighty Queen of many names and of many faces, we call to thee from sacred spaces. Female and male, with silvery rays you shine, and now full orb, now tending to decline. Mother of ages, fruit-producing moon, whose amber orb makes night's reflected noon. Lover of horses, splendid queen of night, all-seeing power bedecked with starry light. lover of vigilance, the foe of strife, in peace rejoicing in a prudent life, for lamp of the night is ornament and friend, who giveth to nature's works their distance end. Queen of the stars, all-wise Diana, hail, decked with the graceful robe and amber veil. Come, blessed goddess, prudent, starry bright. Come, moony lamp, with chaste and splendid light. Shine on those sacred rites with prosperous rays, and as please accept thy suppliant's mystic praise. So what I thought I might do with this online book launch, I'm just going to remove my screen share now, is just share a passage, in particular the introduction of the book. Often people don't read the introductions, but it does sort of set out the theme, the feel of the book. And I open the book with a quote from Amit Ra. Now, if you don't know who Amit Ra is, he's an Indian author and spiritual teacher, renowned for his work in meditation and yoga, peace and compassion. And he writes, "You have no option but to feel the rhythm of the universe in the rhythm of your heart." And I believe that sort of sets the scene for the book, because how I work with the moon is probably on a very personal level. Now, we all work differently, but maybe this is one reason my book may stand out. So, the moon fascinates me. I can gaze at her beauty endlessly as she evolves from the first sliver of hope in the night sky to the fertile crescent of the waxing moon, followed by the abundant full moon before she wanes and eventually disappears altogether, only to reappear a few days later. As a reflection of the sun's rays, there's something mysterious about the moon. I usually consider the moon as female despite the existence of moon gods. She offers a calming presence most of the time. Yet, throughout her cycle, Lady Luna pulls at our subconscious and entices us to loosen our restraints. She touches us on a deep soul level, reminding us of our animalistic and primal heritage. Have you ever wanted to simply howl at the moon? Mother Moon, the wise woman, will share her secrets with us if we take the time to stop and listen, to connect with her gentle ebbing and flowing. These secrets lie deep within us and cannot be experienced through someone else's words. Have you forgotten how to get in touch with them? Or even how to recognize them in our frantic modern world? Gaze at the moon for longer than a casual glance, and she will remind you once again. During her 29.5-day cycle, the moon waxes and wanes. Her mysterious forces exert their influence, not only on our planet, but also on ourselves. For many centuries, humankind has planted by her pull on the earth, conducted rituals according to what phase she is in, used her light as a guide across the waters, and even built monuments to align with her passing. Our earliest ancestors turned their eyes upwards to the heavens in wonder, as they felt the ebb and flow within them and around them. Today, in our modern world, we can still ebb and flow with the moon's tides, even if this realization is only a distant memory or even an inconvenience. Within this book, I offer an assortment of moon-related information that I have collected and worked with over the years, including stories and folklore handed down from our ancestors as a means to explaining the moon's comings and goings, as well as poetry and ritualistic practices. This information has been organized in a manner to assist you should you desire to align yourself with the ever-changing cycles of that silvery orb that glides silently across the sky, waxing and waning in the heavens above us and within our lives as well. Working with the moon can be likened to a voyage of self-discovery. Indeed, our emotions and feelings, as well as our psychic and intuitive abilities, are often attributed to the moon. In the first section of my book, it focuses on exploring our connection with the moon, through aligning our conscious self with the ebbing and flowing energies of the moon's 29.5-day cycle. The second section outlines scientific facts about the moon and various lunar-related events. The third section, we move deeper into moon magic, with an assortment of offerings that you may like to include in your rituals with Lady Luna. The fourth section contains an assortment of lunar correspondences and other associations that can enhance your lunar magic even further. And the final section contains an assortment of other information, including rituals that I've written for working with the moon. Turn off your computer, put aside your mobile phone and step outside. Turn your gaze upwards to the heavens and close your eyes. Breathe and allow yourself to feel the pool of her lunar light as the beams ebb and flow with her changing phases. Take a breath, dear reader, and gaze at Lady Luna. She has many stories to tell you and many secrets to share as well. So that's the introduction to On Her Silver Rays. And I do realize that there are many books about the moon these days. There's blogs, there's articles, even in mainstream media, often advising us how to manifest with the new moon, banish with the waning moon, etc., etc. And this, if I'm 100% honest, was sort of reiterated to me when I visited one of the few remaining physical bookshops here in Adelaide just prior sending my manuscript off to Moon Books. And what I saw, my heart actually sunk because there were two shelves of books solely about working with the moon. How would I then make On Her Silver Rays stand out with what appears to be a massive overload of moon lore? Yet I felt the pull to follow through, to send off my manuscript, and Moon Books also decided to take a chance and publish yet another book on the moon. As I mentioned in the introduction, the moon has long fascinated me, calling it my subconscious. It entices me, I guess, to venture into the subliminal realms of mystery and magic, to step between the worlds and at times even step between other dimensions. From earliest memories of gazing up at Lady Luna, gliding across the sky as a child to, as I mentioned earlier, the full moon public gatherings that I used to organize. I think they ran for about 12 or 15 years. All of this, the moon was beckoning me and anybody else really who attended to step out of our conscious mind, linear, the control, and to embrace this in-between state, to connect with the ebbing and flowing nature of her energetic tides as we inhale and exhale, only to inhale again. Now this ebbing and flowing pool of the moon is reflected in a rather hypnotic poem or invocation even, found within this book, Moon Magic by Dion Fortune. My copy is a rather old one from the 70s, 76. This one was actually published. And I know a lot of people have used this piece of work from Dion Fortune as like an invocation to the moon, but also as the moon speaking to us as the lunar goddess. So I thought I would share this with you as well. So we'll just go back to the moon image. And again, I'm going to remove myself from the screen so you can just visualize the silvery orb of the moon above you and how we called her down with very first invocation. Now, this is Lady Luna speaking to us, taking a deep breath. I am the star that rises from the sea, the twilight sea. I bring men dreams that rule their destiny. I bring the moon tides to the souls of men, the tides that flow and ebb and flow again, that flow and ebb and flow eternally. These are my secrets. These belong to me. I am the eternal woman. I am she. The tides of all men's souls belong to me. The tides that flow and ebb and flow again. The secret, silent tides that govern men. These are my secret. These belong to me. Out of my hands he takes his destiny. The touch of my hand bestows serenity. These are the moon tides. These belong to me. Isis in heaven, on earth Persephone, Diana of the moon Hecate, veiled Isis, Aphrodite of the sea. All these am I, and they are seen in me. The high full moon in the mid-heaven shines clear. I hear the invoking words, hear and appear. Shaddai Al-K, Henry Binna Ki. I come unto the priest that calleth me. So beautiful poem by Dion Fortune. As I said, I know a lot of people who use that in their lunar rites, and it really sets that sort of ebbing and flowing nature of the moon. So my offering, Lady Luna, what makes it stand out from the rest? I honestly can't answer that question because I guess it depends on what people are wanting in a book about the moon. All I know is that I wanted a book that contained as much about the moon as possible without being bogged down with too many distractions from practical element. I personally find this fixation of manifesting with the new moon, dare I say, it's somewhat superficial, or at least compared to how I was taught back in the 90s, early 2000s, through my involvement in mystery schools, whose teachings I still incorporate today in my own work. And this is because to me, there's actually more to working with the moon, especially if you're wanting to create effective change in your life. And I suppose I might just take the opportunity now to give an example. Now, I'm not an astrologer, but I have found over the years that various astrological signs tend to shape the lunar energy. As the moon moves across the sky, she moves through different houses and different signs, not to mention the different transits that are being activated. So when it comes to working with the moon, and I'll just share my screen once again. And we'll get to this slide. Now we've got 3 diagrams here. So I feel, or I believe that when you add your own personal natal chart or birth chart, which is on the right, this is my actual birth chart, you can sort of take your manifesting, your moon magic to a different level, making it a little bit more personal and a little bit more focused in what you are doing. Also, through this, you're aligning yourself with the ebbing and flowing nature of the moon, just as you can with the seasons. And this also reminds us that things are cyclic in nature. Therefore, in order for us to manifest things in our life, we first need to clear the way of the unwanted, the unused, the misaligned. So we actually have our new moon in the astrological sign of Gemini happening at the moment. So here is a chart, the one on the left, of very roughly, because I said I'm not an astrologer, of new moon and Gemini given for the placement of here in Adelaide. So Gemini is the sign of the divine twins. It's about communication. It's an air sign. It's ruled by the cosmic messenger, which is Mercury. He's also a little bit of a trickster. So straight away, when you're just looking at what astrological sign the moon is in, if you're wanting to manifest something, I personally will be thinking along the lines of communication. So that could be social media posts, Instagram posts, emails, other forms of communication. If you're writing reports at work or presentations, all of that sort of being worked in with it. So after I've ascertained what astrological sign the moon is in, I then go to my own birth chart, and there are plenty of free sites on the internet if you know your date, time, and place of birth. If you don't know your time, you can sort of do if it's morning or after or evening. If you don't know your place, this is where I would probably recommend you go and see an astrologer because that's out of my capabilities. I'm quite fortunate that I do know those 3 key things. And when you do, you get to find out what your house, well, what house the moon is in. So we've got full moon or new moon in Gemini. So here I go, where is Gemini in my own birth chart and what house? So my Gemini is actually in the 5th house. This middle diagram, again, I use the Oracle of Google for this image, and this sort of very basically explains what each house means in astrology. And we can see that the fifth house is romance, play, self-expression, and creativity. So these things not only work for me because the moon's in Gemini, also looking at the house where my Gemini is sort of ruling over these things here. Okay, so I'm starting to sort of get a little bit of a idea that this working with this new moon is telling me to get out of my logical, factual mindset and maybe use a little bit more creativity, be a little bit more intuitive, free-flowing sorts of things. Now, if we look at the transits, and this is quite interesting to see what other signs are being activated during the time of the new moon or any phase of the moon. There are a few, and these are these lines that you find drawn on the chart. Now, the one in particular, which is taking probably most interest of the astrologers that I follow, is this double thick red line between the sun and the moon, which is here. And this is actually Neptune. And this double red line is really thick, means that it is squared. Neptune is squared with the sun and moon, which means that they are 90 degrees. And that's with it being a very sort of hard angle, that can indicate a bit of challenge. So we look to see what Neptune in Pisces means. So Pisces and Neptune are very similar. I think off the top of my head that Pisces rules Neptune. Not 100% sure, but I'm quite sure if you're in astrology, you can confirm or deny that. But Neptune has a very watery, sort of mystical element, and so does Pisces. It's very dreamy. So again, this is sort of influencing the sort of subliminal influence of the moon, working with this new moon. And there's another thing that may be taken into consideration, especially with this new moon, is that it's coming to the end of what they call Gemini season. And you can actually see it here where they are right at the end of Gemini, even though I haven't done this correctly. I've actually put the new moon here in Cancer, but they're both right at the end of Gemini, which can also add another layer in that there could be something that we've been talking about that hasn't manifested because we've basically been engaged in a talk fest. Or maybe in order to manifest it properly, we need to sort of go into our dream state or an intuition and look at more creative ways of bringing this desire that we have to fruition. Now, of course, I'm not saying that my way of working with the moon is the best way, the right way, the only way, but it is a way that I've found over the years that assists me in establishing a deeper connection with the cosmos around me, gaining a deeper understanding of who I am, and through that guiding me along this journey that we call life, probably with a more or a greater sense of purpose and connection. Also, and again, this will be just a flow-on effect from my training in the mystery schools, is the belief that when we change our internal worldview, this then changes externally, or at least our perception of our external world changes. Now, you may have heard of the axiom as above, so below, but there's a second part to that that doesn't always get mentioned, and that's as within, so without. And to me, that really enhances sort of working. So if you want to manifest or banish, start looking at ourself first And then that can actually change our perception externally as well. So what I'd like to do now, tapping into this energy or the opportunity, shall we say, with this moon in Gemini, is to take you on a meditation. And just going to remove myself from the screen. So again, you can either gaze at this image or close your eyes. Getting yourself into a comfortable position. Making sure that your back is straight, your spine is aligned. Maybe even having your hands resting gently in your lap. And take a couple of deeper, slower breaths into your diaphragm. Inhale. And exhale. Allowing your shoulders to relax. Allowing your whole body to relax. Bring your conscious awareness to the top of your head. Opening your Sarasvara chakra. And as you do, connect to divine source energy. Inhale. And exhale. Bring your conscious awareness to your third eye, the space between your eyebrows. Opening your Ajna chakra. Inhale. And exhale. Bringing your conscious awareness to your throat. Opening your Vishuddha chakra. Inhale. And exhale. Bringing your conscious awareness to your heart center. Opening your Anahata chakra. Inhale. And exhale. Bringing your conscious awareness to your solar plexus. Opening your Manipura chakra. Inhale. And exhale. Bringing your conscious awareness to your sacral center. Opening your Swadhisthana chakra. Inhale. And exhale. Bringing your conscious awareness to the base of your spine. Opening your Muladhara chakra. Inhale. And exhale. Relaxing your body. Relaxing your whole body. From the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Above your head is the night sky, dotted with stars like pinprick holes in Newt's veil that embraces us. Inhale and exhale, resting in this comforting darkness, the 0 point out of which all creation emerges. As you breathe, the slight sliver of lunar light, crescent shape, comes into your awareness, hanging in the darkness of the cosmic void. As you breathe, this crescent of lunar light starts to appear brighter with each breath, closer with each breath. You realize that with each breath that you take, you are drawing it towards you, drawing all potential, all possibility to you. This realization causes a swelling sensation deep inside of you, deep within your sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, your seat of creativity. What is it that you are wanting to create? Inhale and exhale. Allow the sensation to begin to rise up through your body until it comes to your throat, Vishuddha, your center of communication. As you breathe, focus on what you want to communicate, how you want to communicate your divine truth, and the ways in which this can be communicated in the world. Planting the sacred seed of creative vision through the clarity of thought. Breathe and be open to what may present itself to you through vision or thought, sensation, or even something that you may hear. Just breathe and allow yourself to be open. And as you breathe, bring your awareness back to your breath. As you inhale and exhale, you notice that the sky above you is becoming lighter and brighter. Newt's dark veil is making way for the arrival of the sun, the conscious self. With each breath, you begin to come back to your normal state of consciousness, feeling more focused, with clarity of thoughts, focusing on your extremities, your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And while we're coming back to normal consciousness, normal awareness, I thought I would just make mention of a couple of events that I have coming up. The one for next Wednesday. So this is Australian Central Standard Time, and it'll be Wednesday the 21st, which is the winter solstice here in Southern Hemisphere, and at 8 p.m. And I do realize that this probably won't be in alignment with anybody. No, which gets, oh yeah, it'll be around about 11:20, I think, a.m. in London on the 20th of June. In, say, Eastern US, it'll be 6:30 a.m. But on the Wednesday, next Wednesday, the 21st, I will be doing a winter solstice gathering of the seasons. So this will actually be recorded as well, and I will be making it available on the YouTube channel afterwards. So if the time zone doesn't suit, that's fine. You can watch it later. If you do register for it, you also get a PDF booklet about this winter solstice. And while I do acknowledge that in the Northern Hemisphere, you're coming up to the summer solstice, in 6 months' time, you will reach the winter solstice as well. So then you can refer to the booklet and also the video when the winter solstice comes around to your part of the world. So if you're wanting to take part in this gathering, I'm just calling up now the web page, which I should have had open. But what I might do now is stop sharing that screen, and I will share my website. This is for Mystical Soul Academy. So you will find information about our Winter Solstice Gathering under offerings. Come down and you will find how to join the gathering here. It's a Zoom circle, and just simply click on it and it'll be taking you to the cart where you can join in. And we'll also be doing a meditation on an element of the winter solstice that sort of gets overlooked, and that is the time of the 0 point, the darkness part of the year, as opposed to the returning light. So we'll really be focusing on what that darkness aspect truly means for us, especially as a species, because we tend to be more light focused, light conscious, and ignore the dark. Then the next event that I have coming up, and I've pushed this back a month due to various other commitments. If you just go to my website and go Embrace the Shadows, you will be taken to Embracing the Shadow and Rebirthing the New, which is a 7-part embodiment adventure, as I've called it, into your deep soul self and back again. Now, this was going to be starting at the end of June. I've pushed it back now to the 20th of July. And it's again is held online Zoom calls, which are recorded and sent out to everybody who participates. Every module is held on a fortnightly basis due to the fact that there is quite a bit of information to go through, and because this is an alchemical inner journey for personal freedom, it's really good to sort of replay the meditations and the exercises so you can understand the work that is being done. Now, I'm not going to read all this. If you're interested, you can come back onto the website and read it yourself. But we are going to be using mythology so sort of as a key marker point to take us into the underworld, looking at 5 or maybe 6 specific goddesses, 3 specific myths. The first one is one that's often used for this sort of work, and that's the descent of the goddess, which is about Inanna descent into the great below. She's from ancient Sumer. So the first one is preparing for the descent, where we sort of like set the scene for what we are going to do or descend into the underworld. Module 2, the transformation of innocence. We're looking at a Greek myth, the sort of heroine journey or transition from Kore, maiden, through to Persephone, the queen or co-ruler of the underworld. Week or module 3 is the removing of illusions, and there's, at least in my opinion, there's no better way of doing this than with Kali Ma from the Hindu pantheon. She helps sever our head, our emotional attachments, when we surrender deeply to her. And also we're going through an exercise that should help remove outdated energetic cords attached, particularly through our lower energetic or our chakra systems, that we may not realize are still sort of hindering and focusing or influencing our modern life. Module 4, we go back to the story of Kore or Persephone, looking more at Persephone as to the role that she steps into, looking at also what Carl Jung talked about as the golden shadow, the hidden gifts and talents, soul potentials that have been buried, forgotten, ignored, suppressed because they may have made us stand out from our peers. Module 5, we now sort of shift gear a little bit, still stripping away the layers of our persona, looking at the masks that we wear. Now, we all wear masks. This is part of our human makeup, but sometimes those masks become too comfortable. Sometimes these masks are also given to us as opposed to ones that we've decided to wear. So the appropriate myth there is of Medusa. And sometimes we use these masks as replacements for aspects of ourself or our soul that has, now in different traditions, it's called different things. The term that I'm using here, soul-ular, was found in shamanic teachings where part of our soul, usually through a traumatic event, disappears. It's fractured. It goes elsewhere in a way, a manner of protecting us. But in doing that, as we become adults, this is where we don't feel completely whole. So the whole idea is the integration and working through of that sort of trauma or that experience that we may have gone through as a child. And the next step of that is to look at our family. What ghosts from the family past have we actually inherited through intergenerational ghosts, as I've called them here? These are things that we can inherit even from our culture, our society, not just our parents, even distant relatives, even ancestors going back generations upon generations that we have forgotten about. And there is actually evidence coming to light these days that a good example of this is, say, World War II, because of the grand scale, how it affected virtually everybody in the world. Today, we probably haven't had direct experience with it, maybe even our parents may not have had direct experience with that, with World War II, but our grandparents or even our great-grandparents, depending on how old we are, may have. Say, for example, were in London during the bombing. Now, that's their trauma. However, as it has been scientifically proven that that trauma that they went through can actually be passed down to us, and how it's manifested in today, in us today, won't be connected back to the bombings, but we may find that we have a fear or a phobia of closed spaces or the dark, or don't like loud noise or sudden noise or something like that. And so it's manifested in us in a different way. But when we go through, now there's different therapies that we can undertake, like timeline therapy or past life regression or even soul retrieval. We can then go back to that root cause of that phobia that's manifested in our life, and why we can't change the past. We can actually change our energetic, and because this is all DNA and DNA is energy as well, we can change that level. We can also accept. This can also be seen in certain cultures where we are carrying on a generational wound, largely because I suppose we're being told or being led to believe that if we don't carry on the wound, we are disrespecting, say, an ancestor or a generation who has made great sacrifice. So we will be looking at all of this as a really big picture that we'll be looking at. And in doing so, we will be ending it with a sacred ceremony focused on helping to cleanse and purify not just our energetics, but also the three aspects of the self, the mind, the body, and the spirit, and really help to bring things back into alignment while we're still acknowledging our ancestors as well. And then the last module is coming back to Anana's story as which she ascends. So this is all about the ascent and the integration, especially when we've done all this sort of deep cellular work, how we're going to bring that step into our new world, especially when we may get opposition from people around us for various reasons. So this is a pure embodiment course, starts on the 20th of July. As I said, it's going to be run again at Australian Central Standard Time, so that may not align with you if you live in the US. Could align with you if you live in England or the Europe, but it will be recorded and it'll be sent out. And also with people who can't attend live, there will be live Zoom sessions specifically set up at a convenient time where you can actually have direct personal input. So I'll stop sharing that. Now I think I've gone way over the hour that I wanted to talk about. So On Her Silver Rays is out at the end of the month, officially available. You can still pre-order it if you're interested. I do hope that you love the moon as much as I do. Take care, and I hope to see you again. Blessings.